Welcome to the race and route brief for the 2021 Torpedo Moon by Outsurance. Moon has definitely become one of our favorite events on the calendar. We love coming up to Joburg and introducing the new sport of swimrun to all the athletes in Joburg, and the venue is just absolutely brilliant. So it's definitely a favorite from all of us at the Torpedo team. So we're going to cover four topics of information today. The first is an overview of information. Number two is safety. We're going to go into quite a lot of detail about safety. Number three is a route overview, and that's going to discuss both the full 15-kilometer route and the short 5-kilometer sneak. And then number four, we are just going to reference a video that we put out yesterday, which is both a weather video looking at the forecasted weather, and also it went into quite a lot of detail on the kit options and the optional swim extras that you can use in swimrun. So there's definitely some good information there. If you're not sure what to wear or what to bring along, you must definitely go check out that video. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. So an overview of information. I'm on the Torpedo SwimRun.com website, and I'm on the Moon tab, and there's just a very handy reference to all the information that you need to know for this Sunday on here. So the total distances, 4 runs, 4 swims, totaling to 15 kilometers. An overview of the route, which I'll talk through just now. It's got all the different segments, the 8 segments and their distances and what they add up to. A very important point over here is the compulsory and optional kit. So I'm just going to quickly run through the compulsory kit that you need to bring and the compulsory kit that Torpedo will supply to you on Sunday morning. So a whistle, if all of you can please bring a whistle with you, and then running shoes are also compulsory. You're not allowed to do the event barefoot. And in that extra video that we'll reference, we'll put a link to at the bottom, we talk about the optional kits. So the choice is yours of whether you wear a wetsuit or not, and also whether you use hand paddles and a swimrun pull buoy. And then the kit that Torpedo is going to give to you at registration on Sunday morning is a Torpedo swim cap, a Torpedo swimrun bib, and also we'll give you a Moby timing band, and all of that they will then return to us at the finish line, except for the swimming cap. The schedule. So we've actually moved this digital race briefing forward. There's quite a lot of people, quite eager for information, so we thought we'd send this to you earlier. And then the times on Sunday. So registration from 7 to 8 and the race start at 8:30. The last athlete expected, that's a very lenient cutoff, and it's not a hard cutoff. It will be monitored by our safety team, and you'll only be cut off if it's looking like it's for your own good, but it's a very generous cutoff at 12 o'clock. When you entered, you would have entered all the various categories. This is quite nice. So on the results, you can filter your results and see how you did in all the categories, all the way up to 80-year-olds. So that's the end of the overview of information. So now just getting onto safety. I'm just going to cover a few points which gives an overview, and also it will help you when I'm talking through the route later. So number one is that on all the swimming segments, we got water safety, and that's by the NSRI. So on the actual Crater Moon Lake, there is motorized NSRI boats and also SUPs, and also in the river section, we've got water safety. So just be safe in the knowledge that there is water safety on each and every swim. There's also medical personnel on land. So we've covered both on the land and the swims. At every start and finish of every swim segment, there's also a Torpedo SwimRun marshal. So if you have got questions along the route and you're not sure the direction you have to swim, or you want to ask information, chat to one of those marshals and they'll be able to help you. The course is marked on land. So we put out bunting tape and torpedo arrows. So on land, you are following a set course. And on the water, we have got a torpedo flag at the start of every swim and an Outsurance flag at the end of every swim. So you can, I suppose, pick your own line, but there's no. So in Cape Town, athletes There's a bit of strategy that comes into play, and there's some rip currents and waves, so people take different lines. But in Cradle Moon, when you start the swim, sight your line, and it's basically the fastest route is the direct route from start to finish. And just as a reference, there will be outsurance flags that you'll aim for at the end of every swim, and there will be a marshal standing at those flags. And then, so to talk about some golden rules of swimrun, and this is very important. The first one is absolutely crucial. You never are allowed to dive into any of the water sections. So I know there's a temptation to do that. You're running towards the water, and there's a temptation to dive, but you always have to enter the water feet first. So the swim entries, we're racing through the natural environment. This is not a swimming pool that you're diving into. You have to enter feet first, and that's especially for the river section. So the second swim you're taking on is a short swim down the Crocodile River, and it actually starts with a little rapid. I'll talk a bit more about that when we do the route description, but that second swim, it's absolutely crucial. And every swim, you have to enter the water feet first. The second is, if you come into difficulty on any of the swims, blow your whistle, raise your hand, and that is the way to summon help from the NSRI, and they'll come and assist you. And the third point is, never start a swim if you're not 100% confident that you can finish that swim. So if you do get to swim and you're too tired, you're cramping, and if you're uncertain, do not start that swim. Chat to the marshal, and he'll direct you either around the swim, and you can continue with the route. You just need to tell our timing team at the end that you didn't do the full route, or he will direct you to the finish line if you're wanting to pull out, or call a medic to come and pick you up. Okay, so let's talk through through the route. So the start and finish is at Cradle Moon at the main beach by the restaurant, and it starts with a run. So the first segment is a run. It's an upward drag back past the activity center, and then loops you back around and back to that beach. I remember from 2009, we didn't have an event in 2020. 2019, if you are wanting to be competitive, sure, the pace was extremely high on that first run. If you're just here for a good time, it's a nice opportunity to warm up on that first run before you get to the first swim. The first swim is straight across the dam wall. It's slightly to the left of where the swim was last year, in 2019. But again, when you get to the water, take a look to the other side, and you'll see the outsurance flags, and that is where you're swimming to. And there will be the NSRI boats and SUPs dotted in between the start and the finish of the swim, to help direct you across. The second run is a very short run, and it's sort of like a hop over the dam wall and down to the Crocodile River, which takes you to the second swim. That is a really fun little swim. That the first bit of it is what we call a swamble. It's actually down a little rapid. You can't swim. You have to go feet first, bum first. There's no diving, and just make your way down the little rapid at the start of the swim, and then the water gets a bit deeper, and you can swim to the takeout on river left. It's a very short swim. You'll see the outsurance flags on river left. A very tricky climb up the bank of the river to get out of the swim, and then you're onto the long run of the day. So this is run number 3, and it follows the very nice single track. Most of it's single track, and then sort of jeep track towards the far end of the course of these Cradle Moon trails, and you pass the first energy point of the day on that long run. The long run brings you back to this point that you're actually going to pass 3 times on the route at the far side of the dam, and so it'll bring you back to the same point that you finished the first swim. And this is now the start of the long swim across the dam. It's roughly 1 kilometer, depending on the exact route that you take, and it's a swim up the length of the Cradle Moon Dam, again to outsurance flags that you can sight when you're swimming. And there's another power bar energy point at the end of that swim. The fourth run, the last run, this is a new run. It's different from 2019. 2019 we looped to the left and back on this side of the dam, on the Lansera Airport side of the dam. We are now following. It's a really great. It's slightly harder. It's all single track, and it does include some climbs at the far side of the dam, but it's just a really fun run which brings you around the top of the dam. This is where the hippos are in the dam. They don't come into the main deep section of the dam where we're swimming, but you will run past the area where they live. Very short, sharp climbs, sort of bringing you back again to this main transition point at the far side of the dam. And the last swim is the same as the first swim in the opposite direction, though, where you're swimming back to the restaurant and the finish line. And there is a Moby timing pod at the finish line that you then tap yourself out to record your time. The sneak, the guys that are doing the sneak, so you following the same route. First run, first swim, second run is the same. You're doing the river swim. After the river swim, you're running up a single track, and you're going to get to a junction, and it will be signposted left to sneak and right to the full route. You take the left to the sneak, and it will take you up a jeep track and cut out this very long run, take you up a jeep track to the point that you will then run back down to the dam. So it cuts out a lot of the third run and brings you back down to the dam, and then you just take on the last swim, which takes you straight back to the finish line. So the sneak cuts out a lot of the third run. It cuts out the long swim up the length of the dam, and it cuts out the very hard fourth run. And then again, the sneak guys, you're also going to have a Moby timing chip that you've got at registration, and you tap yourself out at the finish line. And for those of you that don't know Cradle Moon, there's a lovely restaurant on the side of the finish line, so you must definitely enjoy a drink and a breakfast or a lunch after the race. And then, so just a last reference for those of you who are unsure what to wear. It's definitely going to be a tale of 2 days with the temperature. It looks like it's going to be a very chilly start to the day. Possibly getting down into the single digits when you arrive for registration, but then it warms up very rapidly. From sort of 8 or 10 o'clock, it's going to get up into the 20s, and then you're going to have a very hot day, probably in the high 20s to finish the day. So if you're unsure of whether to wear a long wetsuit, a short wetsuit, or just sort of your swimming cozy with the torpedo vest after on top of it, I would give that weather video a watch, which gives you quite a lot of information and also discusses the use of hand paddles and SwimRun pull buoys, and it tells you how to modify them if you're looking to wear a SwimRun pull buoy. Great, well that just about covers it. If you've got any questions, drop us an email to register@torpedoswimrun.com, and travel safe, and we will see you bright and early on Sunday morning. Cheers.
Good.